What's going on, Spartan Nation? Hey, it's your boys. Thank you for listening to the Spartan Dog Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jarrell, joined by my guy, Devin Armstrong. What's going on, sir?
Man, we loving it. We loving it. After that week, after that game, whew, I know the
Hell
green and
yeah.
white's got to be fired up.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be fired up after that.
Yep. Just to letting you know right now, Jordan might come in this podcast, any minute now. So just be on the lookout for Jordan, everybody. But with that being said, man, MSU pulled off the upset, a statement win for Jonathan Smith. We win 27-24 against Maryland. A very decent Maryland team, I would say. One that I was a little worried about coming into. But nevertheless, man, Aiden Childs went down the field last possession and got us in field goal range, and Jonathan Kim did the rest. So your thoughts on the game, man? Your reaction to it, Devin?
Uh, Loved it. Loved every second of it. I know it's Maryland. I know they're not necessarily been the biggest threat in the Big Ten over, we'll say the last, 7, 8 years, whatever. Haven't been the biggest threat. But I mean, for the fact that they've beaten us pretty badly over the last couple of years, and it's been like pretty badly with the way they've been putting Michigan State down, I've got to say I'm absolutely thrilled to see them go into College Park and get this win, overcome all the adversity. Not even just necessarily that they went in there and they dominated Maryland,
Right?
but they went in there, they faced some adversity, they got the lead, they made mistakes, they gave it away, and then at the last second, they pulled it back and found a way to win. This team has some freaking fight in them, and I love it. I love every second of it. They've got fight in them, and it's beautiful. Love
Yes.
it.
Now, would you say that this is a staple win for Jonathan Smith?
The first Big Ten game in his career, and he pulls off the win, and he had to go on the road and do it. I would
Yeah.
say this is absolutely, when people are looking back on the Jonathan Smith era, as long as everything goes as we predict it will, and it'll just keep getting better and better, and we head into a second Mark D'Antonio type
Yes.
Michigan State football era,
Yes.
then they're definitely going to backtrack to this particular game right here and look at the way his team had played and overcame the adversity. Because, I mean, most people most Spartan fans would definitely probably agree with this statement here that during the Mel Tucker era, outside of the anomaly season that 2021 was, the other 2 years, the teams just didn't seem like they had. Granted, last year they had a lot of distractions with the firing of Mel Tucker and all that nonsense going on, but
Right.
2022, it just didn't seem like they had the fight in them like this team did. Like this team got down,
True.
could have potentially went down by 10 points. Luckily, Maryland's kicker had shanked the kick, so that played out in our favor,
Yeah.
but this team still could have gotten down on themselves and pretty much just quit.
Yep.
But they didn't. They kept fighting. They end up finding a way to win. And just you love to see that out of a team. That way that knows when they go to face some adversity later down the road against some tougher opponents, they're going to keep on fighting.
Yep. I agree. Aiden Childs had a he had a game. How about that? He had a very whatever good, bad, indifferent type game. I mean, one thing I will say about Aiden Childs that impressed me in this game was that his short term memory. He threw a pick. He went to the sideline. He was like, "Hey, it's all right. I'm gonna get him the next play. Don't worry about it." And it never bothered him to that he threw a pick. He always was still, "Hey, I'm gonna still chunk it if I have to. I'm still going to do what I have to do." And yeah, he could have thrown 5 interceptions, and I believe he still would have found out a way to win the game. Um, I will say this also about Michigan State with the win. We found out our number one wide receiver. His name is Nick Marsh. He finished the game with 8 receptions, 194 yards, and a touchdown. Uh, Clearly, Aiden Child's number one wide receiver.
Absolutely. Hello, Big Ten. Nick Marsh is here. He's here to stay. He's here to play. He's here to do everything that he set out to do as the four-star recruit.
Yes, sir.
Just kind of going over some of the statistics here. Aiden Childs was 24 for 39, 363 yards, which, I mean, to me, I'm in agreement with the great Charles Davis about this, but when a quarterback excels at over 300 yards passing in a game, I mean, that still signifies excellence to me because most quarterbacks are barely getting over 100 yards.
Mhm.
at some of these collegiate levels playing. But 363 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. The big blemish there, the 3 INTs. Two of them I would say were probably pretty egregious. Um,
Yeah.
so definitely still got to work on that. The carries between Nick Carter, or no, I said Nick Carter, Nate Carter,
Mhm.
and Kayron Lynch Adams are pretty evenly split. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a difference of about 13 yards in the carries between the two of them, but it seemed like the offensive line was blocking pretty evenly for the both of them when they were both kind of able to hit a couple different runs that
Right.
looked pretty flashy. I know that Kayron Lynch Adams' best run was 23 yards, and then Nate Carter had a 30-yard run at one point. I
Yeah.
can't remember which quarter that was in,
I
but
think
I
it's the
do.
first quarter.
Was it the first quarter?
First
Okay.
quarter. Yeah.
Right off from the get go, he was able to get that and go, and been able to make all of that happen. Obviously Nick Marsh, 8 catches, 194 yards, and a touchdown. Jerron Glover and Montori Foster both stepping
Yes.
up with 6 catches apiece. About a difference of 31 yards between the two of them. Both had a touchdown,
Both that
which
is
is great.
touchdown. Yep.
Jack Velling got in there with 3 catches and 25 yards. That was phenomenal. And it was great to see our defense not only get another turnover, but generate pressure on Billy Edwards Jr. and cause a couple sacks. Be able to get back there, put pressure on him, and not allow him to be able to just kind of do what he wanted. You
Mm-hmm.
know? Not being able to do what he wanted. And just looking at the Maryland running backs here, most of the average going down the line here was about 2.9 yards a carry.
Yeah.
So, granted, Maryland's offensive line is fairly new. It's 5 new guys. But, I mean, it's good to see that the defense is doing what they should against a novice line, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
or a line that hasn't gelled well together yet. It's good to see that. Pocket was pretty clean for Aiden Childs being able to throw the ball. I mean, a couple times he had to scramble and move, and that's what's great about having a mobile quarterback is they are able to move in
Mm-hmm.
that case when things like that do happen. But, I mean, I'm pretty impressed, man.
Right.
I like seeing this.
Right. I wanted to ask you right now, who was your MVP of this game? If you had to give it, if you had to say, hey, this guy won it for us, who would it be?
I definitely got to say the quarterback. I mean, Aiden Childs had some. He missed some throws and he turned the ball over in very egregious spots. So, and for him to be able to bounce back the way he did, and just you know what, I don't care what happened. I'm gonna throw an absolute missile, 77 yards to Nick Marsh. Like, I mean, you got hats off. Like, you
Yes.
just hats off. Got to give it to the kid.
Yeah. For me, I would also agree with you on Aiden Childs, but I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna go to defense. Um, Holding a very decent Maryland offense to only 24 points. When Aiden Childs repeatedly put you in unfortunate circumstances to where you had to really, you had to play
Yes.
very well. This could have
Mhm.
been easily a blowout, game for Michigan State if the defense wouldn't have stepped up the way they did. So I have to give it up for the defense, taking the ball away a couple of times, and just never really bend but don't break. They never broke. They never broke, man. And that was some resilient defense. I'm starting to be very confident and very impressed about our defense. So that is for sure.
The talk around the town is looking like that this defense might be better than the 2019 Spartan defense, which, regardless of how that season went as far as everything, as far as offensively and the record they had, I believe they did finish 7-6 with
Right.
the Pinstrip Bowl win out there in cold New York, playing in the
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
That defense was still phenomenal
Big
all
time.
year long. That defense was pretty much what carried them to those 6 wins to get them bowl eligible.
Yes, it is.
To beat Wake Forest in that bowl game. But people are saying it could be the best defense we've had since then. And I mean, quite frankly, yes, we gave up. Let me get it pulled back up here. We
Yeah.
gave up the 11 catches and 152 yards and a touchdown to Ty Felton, but Ty Felton's probably going to be playing on Sundays, ladies
Yes,
and gentlemen.
yes,
So
for
the fact that
sure.
we were able to limit him to that, him being an experienced wide receiver, and then our guy Nick Marsh taking off the way he did and taking advantage of the Maryland secondary, as you were to expect against maybe some young corners out there,
Yep.
it's very encouraging.
Yep. I agree. So with that being said, now that we experienced and we actually got the win, the upset win versus Maryland, which we were, concerned about going on our previous preview show. Now that we know that they won, how confident are you going into the season? Now, how many wins do you really realistically see them winning? Now that we got over a hump. We got over this
Mm-hmm.
hurdle. This is a big time hurdle. We were definitely marking this game as we're about to see where Michigan State is this season against Maryland. And the way they played, they were resilient. They never gave up, and I thought that was impressive. That was a very impressive win when it could have went all the way bad for them. So this is a different type of team now. Now that I see this, I see them doing great things. I want to get your take on it first. How many wins you see them winning now?
I think this just reinforces my ceiling that I had for the team at the beginning of the year, which was 10-2. I can still see a loss. Obviously to me, and I've talked to all the Buckeye fans that I'm friends with. I mean, until I see Michigan State go in there and consistently for a couple years in a row keep the game within 2 scores, I'm going to chalk that as a loss pretty much every year that we play them. Until I see that consistently a couple years in a row, then I'll start to get a little more optimistic. But as far as the Ohio State game goes, probably still see a loss there. Potentially probably a loss at Oregon, being on a short week coming off Ohio State and having to go to Oregon and play. That might play some fatigue in there.
Okay.
And they might, even though Jonathan Smith and some of the coaching staff are very familiar with Oregon and how to prepare against Oregon, that could help us, but the team might be fatigued. So still see those 2 losses. But now I'm even reinforced even more after seeing what happened with Michigan when they played against a top 10 team. And then Iowa falling off to Iowa State, still seeing that Iowa does not have a signs, even a lick of an offense, putting anything together at all.
Right.
With the quarterback not being able to reach over 100 yards passing is kind of crazy.
Right.
But I think that reinforces the idea of this team going 10-2 even more, because the 4-game stretch with Ohio State, Oregon, Iowa, and Michigan was pretty much the only games I'm worried about. I know a lot of people are very, very high on Rutgers. I'll have to watch them play this next weekend against Virginia Tech to kind of see why everybody's so high on them. But, I mean, as far as that goes, the last 4 games, Illinois, Indiana, Purdue, Rutgers, they could probably get a little scrappy, especially with Indiana. But I mean, at this point, the way Michigan State's playing, how resilient they are, not that they can go in there and just blow people out, but the resilience that this team has to fight and the dog that this team has within them right now, this 10-2 is becoming more and more and more realistic, especially after, we take care of business with Prairie View this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
And then the following weekend, if they go into Boston College and pull a similar type of win or an even better, cleaner football win against them, I mean, all bets are off.
I agree.
I'm not accepting anything less than 10-2 from this team then at that point.
My ceiling now that I see this win is about 9-3. And looking on the outside in, as far as the playoff goes, it just depends on how the season goes, because as we all know, Notre Dame took a pretty big loss, so we'll see how that affects them down the line towards playoff time come. But as far as where Michigan State goes, man, I can see them beating Iowa. I can see them beating the last 4 to 5 games, Indiana, Purdue,
Rutgers and Illinois.
I can see them winning all those games for sure. I can see them beating Michigan. It's realistic now. I can see it. Michigan is not playing as well as Michigan State is right now.
Michigan does not have a quarterback. Their quarterback talent level is.
Listen, we might not have the perfect quarterback, but we have the most resilient quarterback. I tell you that right now. In Aiden Childs, he is very much what Michigan State needs right now.
He's got pure talent. He's got a lot of pure talent, capability. Man's got a cannon on him with accuracy. When he gets those feet set and fires that ball correctly, man's got accuracy. He's got a cannon on it, and he's got the ability to scramble and move out of the pocket. We definitely have the more weaponized quarterback in our little brother in Ann Arbor, so to speak.
Right.
So I definitely can see that being a win. Plus, what I've noticed over the years of Michigan State, they seem to play better when they go to Ann Arbor versus when we host the Wolverines. So definitely can see that probably being something of all nature. But yeah, just this team's got just too much fight in them, man. They're just so much better than what people are giving them credit for. They're gelling. I know, granted, I get it. We played FAU and Maryland. I'm not going to say that Maryland is bottom bucket and scrapes of the Big Ten like Rutgers was for a long time, or
Right.
Illinois or
Right.
Indiana, but I mean, Maryland has built up a pretty solid program over the
Yes,
last
they
6 years. But so for us to go in there
have.
and win with a team full of 63 new players, make that statement win like that, that gives these guys all the confidence in the world. So when they travel to Boston College in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and Boston College is in the top 25, we'll be in the top 25 still at that point.
Yeah.
That'd be a massive win.
That would be
Without a doubt, Michigan State will be ranked at the end of the season. 9-3, like you said with your record, I don't know if that gets us into the postseason, but 10-2 definitely will. If the two losses are to Oregon and Ohio State,
both
and
should
we
be in the
go in
playoff.
and we beat Michigan in Ann Arbor, and then we beat Iowa at home, and we finish out beating the other four teams that everybody's so high, especially with Rutgers, everybody being so high on them.
Uh-huh.
Not a doubt in my mind that we'll be in the playoff.
Yep.
There's no way we wouldn't be top 12 at that point.
I agree.
Even if it is the 12th seed, we'll still be there.
Right. I mean, it'll be a hell of a 12 seed, for anybody that's a 1 seed. I mean, that's where it's at, and that's where we're at right now. Just the confidence level that these Michigan State Spartans have installed in us. So definitely,
Y'all's fault. Y'all shouldn't have played so well.
Exactly. Shouldn't have been so resilient. That's all we needed right there, was just to see that type of performance from this team to let me know, okay, this team got heart. They do have some fight in them. They do got some dog in them. And shout out to the wide receiving core for waking up. I guess they must have heard what I was talking about. Like, hey, we didn't have a wide receiver one. I was really concerned about that. And everybody stepped up. There's not a single performance on the stat sheet that I'm mad about. Everybody, caught the ball very well. Everybody got in the end zone for the most part. So, I'm through the moon about the wide receivers stepping up, which they needed to in order for us to win this game. So, but yeah, next week will be Prairie View A&M.
Yep.
Should be a pretty easy game, I would say. I'm looking for Nick Marsh to throw 0 interceptions this time. That's against Prairie View A&M. I just need 0 interceptions, and I'll have even more confidence going into Boston College, which should be a very good game. Out of the 4 teams, the first 4, Boston College will be the best matchup for us. That's for damn sure.
That'll be a really good test to see kind of where we're at, since Boston College is pretty proven that they have a pretty compatible team with Bill O'Brien leading the way there.
Yeah.
They've got a pretty compatible team there. We're at Boston College, so it's another road test for us.
Yep.
It'll be nice to see where the team kind of matches up, because if we do make the playoff, at 10-2, we're definitely going to have to play a road playoff game at somebody's house, unless that team elects to play at a neutral site, which the higher seed will have that choice in the first round to decide if they want to play at their home stadium or if they want to play at a neutral site. So we could get some snowy college football playoff games this year. I guess we will see.
Yes, we will. We will definitely see. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to the Spartan Dog Podcast. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. This episode should be going up in a few days. So just keep blessing us with your presence, with your eyes and your views. Thank you so much. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Spartan Dog PC. Just keep it going, man. I mean, this is just what we needed, Devin. This is just what we needed. This is real Spartan Nation right here. Just all smiles, man. That's it, man. Just keep it going, man. And hey, until the next podcast, hey, go green.
Go white.